ESPN's Richard Jefferson has stern message for critics after Caitlin Clark and co.'s CBA protest. "We wanted to do something that was united as a collective, and I thought that it's a very powerful moment and got the point across," said Kelsey Plum when describing the Pay Us What You Owe Us t-shirts.
We wanted to do something that was just united and collective, and I thought that it was a very powerful moment and got the point across, and sometimes you don't have to say anything.
Thanks to the 2025 WNBA All-Star Game, the attention of the world was recently on the Women's Basketball League. The players used this to their advantage. From Plum and Caitlin Clark to Angel Reese and Paige Bakers, all 2025 All-Stars came dressed in those t-shirts during the warm-up leading up to the All-Star Game between Team Clark and Team Collier. While the WNBA squad was united in their message, not everyone took it well. For those who didn't, Richard Jefferson has a message. The former NBA player turned ESPN analyst took to his official Instagram account to share a story with his 540,000 followers. He highlighted a post made by content creator Joey Vance about the Pay Us What You Owe Us message. Vance didn't hold back in criticizing Caitlin Clark and company, saying that,
"I'm going to say something that's probably going to sting, and if you don't like it, that's fine, right? But the truth at the end of the day doesn't care about your feelings." Now, these WNBA stars, they showed up to the All-Star Game wearing these t-shirts that said, "Pay us what you owe us," right? And I'm thinking to myself, oh, you, like, who owes you? And let me ask you something, as a matter of fact, because if I were to open up a restaurant that loses money every single year for nearly 3 decades, should I walk into the investors meeting and say, "Hey, run me my check"? No. What I should be doing is crawling into my knees and saying, "Thank you for keeping the lights on," not locking the doors and throwing away my broke menu in the trash, right? The whole thing is absolutely delusional. The WNBA, in my opinion, is like setting up a lemonade stand on somebody else's mansion driveway, right? You're using their lemons, their sugar, their water. You're using their family name to get people to come in, and for 28 years, you're not making a profit. You should be saying, "Thank you for keeping that hose of water on." And look, I'm all for women's sports. I really am. I want to see the WNBA win, but I don't think you get to skip the building phase and jump straight to the payout. It doesn't work that way. If you want NBA money, you have to deliver NBA value. And let me be clear, because it's not about sexism, right? UConn women's basketball, they pack out arenas. Caitlin Clark, she has pushed and driven viewership records. When the product hits, people show up. But this right here, this is not about pay equity. It's about entitlement with no results. And Kevin O'Leary said it best from Shark Tank. Remember, he said, when a business isn't making money, take it behind the barn and shoot it. The only reason why the WNBA hasn't been put down is because the NBA, let's be honest, has subsidized it and kept covering the cost all of these years. So stop acting like victims of injustice. Stop biting the hand that's been feeding your league since day one. You're not being underpaid. You're being overfunded. And for a product that still hasn't figured out how to make people actually care about it, until that changes, you got to burn that shirt. You really do. Look, you got to put down the ego, and you got to go put on a show that makes the world actually stop scrolling.
Vance thought that the players should be crawling on their knees and thanking the league for at least keeping the lights on. The content creator made it clear that he supports women's sports and wants them to succeed, but doesn't want the players to skip the building phase. He even used a Kevin O'Leary reference to make his point. Vance had several supporters, but Richard Jefferson wasn't one of them. Highlighting Jefferson's IG story on his own IG story, the content creator wrote, "Faced with tears of joy at Richard Jefferson, you of all PPL know the truth. Outta here, brudda. Well, only time will tell whether this turns into a full-fledged feud." That said, Joey Vance is not wrong in claiming that the WNBA is still in a building phase. According to a New York Post article published back in October 2024, the WNBA potentially lost $40 million last year. Sure, it is better than the $50 million that analysts initially believed the WNBA would lose. Still, $40 million is not a small amount. Even sellout crowds for the finals between the New York Liberty and Minnesota Lynx, and the Caitlin Clark effect that reportedly brought in an increase in ticket sales and viewership weren't enough. Despite this, the NBA, which owns 60% of the Women's Basketball League, is not giving up. As part of the new basketball media contracts, the WNBA will get up to $2.2 billion over 11 years, starting in the 2026 season. Joey Vance makes a valid point, but so does Richard Jefferson. The WNBA is getting better year by year. TV ratings went up by 23%. Ticket sales went up by 26%. And attendance increased by 13% halfway through the ongoing WNBA season. This affected the valuation of the Golden State Valkyries, which recently became the first $500 million women's team in pro sports. According to Bleacher Report journalist Joseph Zucker, every WNBA team's value is up more than 100% over the past 12 months. WNBA players reportedly receive just 9.3% of league revenue. Compare that to the NBA, where the players and owners split the revenue from TV deals, ticket and merchandise sales, etc., evenly at between 49% and 51% of basketball-related income. It's hard to justify a raise when the league is losing money. Still, Richard Jefferson believes that things are improving for the WNBA, and the players should be compensated accordingly. It makes sense that Jefferson would support the WNBA players' viewpoint. The ESPN analyst has promoted the women's league on several occasions. Whether it is an issue about pay or claiming that player rivalries are on the same level as the NBA's, he's there. Now hold up, man. Notice how Richard Jefferson is one of the only people speaking up on this "pay us what you owe us" situation. Like, where's everybody else at? I mean, we talking about a whole CBA protest in the middle of the WNBA All-Star spotlight, and still, most of these creators, silent. Most of these analysts, acting like it didn't even happen. Crazy. And yeah, I said it. Some of these WNBA media folks are picking sides instead of telling the truth. You got players literally risking their brand, putting the league on blast, and what do we get? Crickets from people who claim they support the women's game. Nah, we're not doing that over here. "Pay us what you owe us" wasn't just a t-shirt slogan, it was a statement. A protest. A whole moment. And the fact that so many folks dodged it tells you everything you need to know about how real they keep it. Let's see what others said. The WNBA All-Stars wore these "Pay Us" t-shirts and pivoted to playing the worst All-Star game in the history of professional sports. They demand things and serve doo-doo sandwiches.
The WNBA players in their pregame warm-up came out in these t-shirts, "Pay us what you owe us." And then immediately pivoted to playing the worst All-Star game in the history of professional All-Star games. They took the court in t-shirts. "Pay us what you owe us. We're underpaid. This league has lost millions of dollars, but we're underpaid. Pay us what you owe us." And then they served up a doo-doo sandwich to sports fans. Not only did they serve up a doo-doo sandwich where people were basically just walking up and down the court, no defense being played, players jacking up three and these imaginary four-pointers. And I'm like, how are they doing this? Why are they doing this? It's incredible. How can you be this tone deaf, this delusional, that you're going to take the court, "Pay us what you owe us," and then take 17, 18,000 fans inside Gainbridge Arena in Indianapolis, where your most passionate fan base of the WNBA is, the fan base that you and many of these black players have described as racist, come out in droves, support you the entire weekend. Everybody's on the record. This is the best WNBA All-Star weekend of all time. And then you serve them a doo-doo sandwich. You don't even put 10% effort out on the court. This is how little respect professional sports and professional athletes, and I'm talking about at the collegiate level and the pro level. This is how little respect they have for fans. They got this entire thing, and the sports media has this entire thing backwards, that they are owed something. This has been a charity welfare league for 30 years, has never turned a profit. And they're taking the court, "Pay us what you owe us." This is a sign of how desperate they are. This is a sign of how delusional they are. This is a sign of how dumb they are. Dumb, desperate and delusional.
You went from a Motel 6 in a sketchy part of town to a Four Seasons in the shopping district. Stop talking. Colin Cowhood reacts to Kelsey Plum calling out Caitlin Clark at WNBA All-Star Weekend.
Listen, NBA players make 50% of revenues. WNBA players make 9%. And now the merch sales are up 500% and attendance is up, 40%. So they're going to get a raise. There's no question. And I don't really care that the previous 25 years they didn't make a lot of money or lost money. I don't care. They're in the middle of a negotiation and they're on a heater. So it doesn't really matter. I've said this before. I made an investment for 5 years and it lost money, and I got about 6 months left in the investment, and in the last 6 months they started making cash, I'm not bailing on the investment. I want to finally get my money back. So they're going to get a raise. They're finally turning a corner. But and negotiating in any business is all about current momentum. It's not about 12 years ago. It's about current momentum. There are companies, I'll give you an example. When The Athletic, which is a subscription-based sports writing site, got purchased by the New York Times, The Athletic was losing $45 million a year. They bought it for scale. They bought it because at the time Biden, not Trump, was president. They were losing clicks. They weren't doing as well digitally, and The Athletic answered that bell. Athletic still doesn't make money. They bought it for scale. Not every company that wins in negotiations or is sold is wildly profitable. But the projection for the WNBA going forward and the current momentum are really, really good. So the T-shirts don't bother me. But why do you take a shot at the Golden Goose, Caitlin Clark? You guys were flying before she arrived on one of those airlines that made you pay for a cup of water. One of those airlines that is the planes are the color of a highlighter. Now you're flying private. Okay, if you're in a band and you're staying at the Motel 6 and you add a band member and now you're at the Ritz-Carlton, keep your issues to yourself. All right? You went from a Motel 6 in a sketchy part of town to a Four Seasons in the shopping district. Stop talking. I don't mind the T-shirts. I think you have leverage. I think you deserve more than 9%. But it's just misstep after misstep. It's time to grow up, girls. Like fast. Like this is the player that got you off the airline that was bright yellow. Right? She got you an upgrade to a better hotel as a band member. So I do think a lot of people are saying, hey, man, this league has never made money. It's an investment. It's now going to make money. And by the way, this is the least profitable, arguably. It'll be over the next 10 years. It's only going to get more profitable as women's basketball gets better, as the Caitlin Clark momentum train gets bigger. I mean, this year, she's not playing well. She's hurt. She's not there for all the games. So this is actually not as great as it could be. Like Michael Jordan, hurt year 2, next 12 years were legendary. That's what it's going to be. So I think they deserve a big raise, maybe not 50% of revenues, because NBA stars, there's a lot of them, and they move the needle. The WNBA stars, well, there's one that moves the needle.
Here's why people support the WNBA players. Pay us what you owe us wasn't just a T-shirt slogan.
Earlier today, I made a video making fun of people who are mad at WNBA players for protesting for more money. A lot of people said, Kev, you didn't even make an argument, so I will now. Here's what the WNBA players are asking for: a larger percentage of the revenue that the league generates. The main argument is that the WNBA is not profitable, therefore they should not be arguing for this. All right, let's take a look at that. And I'll agree with you. WNBA said they lost about $50 million last year. I concede that point. The NBA took about 25 years to become profitable, roughly 40 years to become consistently profitable. What helped the NBA attain profitability? Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. That rivalry increased the viewership, the interest, the ticket sales, all that stuff. WNBA is in year 28. In walks last year, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. That has led to increase in interest, popularity, ticket sales, all-star voting, merchandise sales, all that stuff. Most would agree that the WNBA is experiencing exponential growth, okay? The WNBA added the Valkyries this season, and they're adding 3 more teams in the next few years. Would you think that a league that is failing and not growing would be adding more teams or not. I would argue that they'd be adding teams, okay? Now, you say they lost $50 million last year, conceded that point. The NBA and WNBA have a new TV deal that's $2.2 billion. That's going to average around $200 million for the WNBA. So if I concede that they lost $50 million last year, if everything stayed stagnant, that means next year they'll get what? $150 million. Therefore, they would be profitable. If you were negotiating with somebody for the shares of $150 million, would you want to negotiate that before that money hits or after that money hits? Before, okay? I think they're around 9% of the revenue they get. MLB, NHL, NFL around 50%. All right, now they're not profitable. Okay, somebody said, Kev, you work for All Def. They weren't profitable. Did you ask for more money? Yes, because profit and revenue are not the same thing. You can generate a lot of revenue and not be profitable. Police departments are not profitable. Do you think police officers don't argue for more money? They do. If a movie loses money, should the actors not be paid their worth? They should. Also, ask yourself why a business would want to report losses, even if they didn't have to. Because there's benefits to reporting losses. Movie studios do it all the time. They write off as much as they can, and reporting a loss, it has great tax benefits. All right, so that's my argument.
Y'all already know, we ain't sweeping nothing under the rug here. We're gonna talk about it, break it down. So get down in comment section. Tell us what you're thinking about this. Hit that like, drop a comment, and subscribe, because while others stay quiet, we speak loud.